It was funny seeing them together. He had always thought of Carolyn's mannerisms as so distinct. Now he could see they were family traits. "Oh, wow, the way you shake my hand," he thought upon meeting Jenny, this bright and steely apprehension of things, still somehow warm. The Bush sisters had a unique intensity. Her gestures had a profound effect on my ability to process certain emotions that I might have had a difficult time venting in the past, Gabe says of Carolyn. She and Jenny embodied the world similarly. They seemed really close. Aside from the reading, most of that week was spent at 1861 Stanhope, where the sisters cooked together, listened to music, and generally holed up. "I don't care for New York," says Jenny. She'd visited enough in her 20s when her best friend, Pamela Tinnan, was still earning her master's in curatorial studies at NYU, where she now works as a curator. Pamela had known the sisters since she and Jenny were in 6th grade, and she describes her relationship with them as familial. Jenny agrees. As much as Pamela was best friends with Carolyn, too, she was perhaps even more like another big sister. People had actually assumed she was Carolyn's sister, especially after Jenny left for college. Carolyn had basically replaced Jenny as Pamela's roommate in St. Petersburg, Florida. Now Pamela had moved around the corner from Carolyn in Ridgewood, and they had keys to each other's apartments. That whole trip was about trying to get to know Carrie's life in New York and understanding Wendy's Subway, says Pamela. Jenny wanted to understand why Carolyn loved New York so much, but she told Carolyn that she didn't want to go into Manhattan. Carrie never really went into Manhattan anyway, except for school, says Jenny. But upon arriving, Jenny had discovered that Carolyn was not enrolled in classes at the new school that semester. It was a point of contention. She had enrolled there part-time in a program for self-directed study to finish the bachelor's degree she began at Bard College in 2009. After finishing, she intended to pursue a PhD in literature or medieval studies or poetry or something in between. She had decided to delay for another semester and was working her ass off independently but wasn't actively in school, Jenny says. They'd had a little argument about it. She told me she was going to be in school, and I wanted to be very respectful of that, and when I arrived, I realized she wasn't. Jenny was afraid that Carolyn had delayed enrolling in classes because of her visit, but she did not want to get in the way of her sister's academic pursuits. She got kicked out of Bard College, Jenny says, 4 years earlier. She flunked out. Instead of doing touristy things, they went to the farmer's market, and Jenny put together a big cheese plate with tomatoes. Tomatoes were their thing. Then she made soup and helped Carolyn clean out her closet, meaning Jenny sat atop Carolyn's fluffy white comforter on her wide, comfy bed while her sister took out every piece of clothing she owned and modeled it for Jenny for 3 or 4 hours, while Jenny drank wine and said, "Not that, get rid of that. Oh, I love that." They had always helped each other make these decisions, and historically their style had been similar, feminine vintage pieces in Carolyn's case with a bit of edge. That day, they took 3 trash bags of clothes to sell at Beacon's Closet, then came back and spent the night talking. Carolyn's name was the only one on Unit 2A's lease. She had moved into 1861 Stanhope Street in February 2014 after several years of short-term living arrangements, the same year the New York Times profiled Ridgewood as the latest up-and-coming neighborhood. Artists priced out of the increasingly trendy Williamsburg and Bushwick neighborhoods had crept east with the L subway line in recent years. Now Ridgewood was filled with broke millennials, underemployed artists, craven property speculators, fearful natives, and first-time homeowners, the Times described. Cafes with vegan muffins, yoga studios, and destination pizzerias have naturally sprouted. Bars with names like Milo's Yard and Beer Laken are slated to open. Guitar cases, tote bags, and shearling coats are increasingly frequent accessories on pedestrians. Carolyn's apartment was an 8-minute walk from the L train on a mostly treeless residential block near a small park and a cemetery. Built in 1905, it was a pale 2-story brick row house converted into upper and lower apartments, with roof access, a wraparound gate in front, stone archways over the windows, and a molded plaster overhang decorated in faux garlands. Next door was a moving company, and on the other side was a neighborhood pharmacy. The small vestibule of the building's front entrance opened onto a stairwell leading up into her unit. Apartment 2A occupied the entire second story and had wood floors, decorative ceiling tiles painted white, crown molding, and some greenery beyond.